Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy. Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue and my cohort in creepitude, as always, the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. And you guys, today our creep is Joss Whedon. We're excited to talk about that. But we just have a little bit of housekeeping to do first. Knock, knock, knock. Housekeeping. So we're going to just do a little bit of that. We're feeling silly today.
Yes, we are.
Thank you guys so much for joining our Patreon page. We have 3 new members, Sonia, Ashley, Olivia, and Donna. And by the way, Ashley and Olivia, they live in Oklahoma. I'm sorry, they live in Omaha. I'm sorry, they both live in Omaha, but they don't know each other. So, they need to do a socially distanced meetup sometime.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
You cohorts in creepitude need to get together.
Yeah. So we hope we're building your friendship circle out there fighting creeps. If you join our Patreon page, it's helping us put the show together, put the hosting costs and the weekly costs of the stuff that we have to do to put the show together. So really thank you guys so much. It also gets you bonus content. A couple of times a month, we put out bonus episodes. We'll give you stickers no matter what, but we have these little charms that are very cute that some people like to have. So if you're a Patreon member, you can have that. And also we have a newsletter that's a monthly newsletter. It's going to be going out this week. Sonia's in charge of that. I'm in charge of dropping stuff off at the mail. And you guys, I'm sorry if things get there slowly, but for some reason, some creep fired a whole bunch of people at USPS. And that is the United States Postal Service. All of a sudden, like, the mail is really creepy right now.
Yeah, who was it that said, like, these are not things that we thought we would be fighting about in 2020?
Yeah.
It's like science and the mail.
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous.
You guys, I will send you emails when you're getting stuff going out to you. Just let me know when you get them. Or if you join our Facebook group, which is in Facebook, you type What a Creep podcast group, a private group where you can hang out with your fellow non-creeps. Just, you could put a picture there when you get your stuff. That would be cool too. Or the stuff you get in our merch store. Sonia, we're so exciting. We're getting merch. We have merch. We have merch, and y'all have been sharing pictures of what you've been ordering, and I love seeing it. It's so cute. And we have like mugs and tote bags and face masks and magnets, shirts, whatever you want. Whatever you need. So go to whatacreep.threadless.com, but it also is in our show notes. And if you're listening to this on your smartphone, just swipe the artwork and all the stuff is there. All the links are there. So definitely check us out. What else should I say? We had you guys, thank you so much. We ask you to leave us reviews in iTunes or Apple Podcasts if you have a moment, just because we get creeps that drop by. They don't like two ladies talking, or they don't like our subject or whatever. They just give us 1 star and say something shitty and leave. And so you guys have been really showing up. So we really want to thank Maggie Murderino, Cindy Kupperman, and Free Downloader. The 3 of them left us 5-star reviews, and we don't pay for reviews. Some shows pay for reviews. We don't do that. We've got the money now, but we don't do that because we think it's dishonest. Right?
It is.
Yes.
Right.
So we know it's a pain in the ass that you do that for us, but we really, really appreciate it. Even if you just hit the 5 stars button, that really just helps us out. So thank you guys for doing that. We're on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years and never used it.
Creep.
We're on Instagram, What a Creep Podcast. We have an email. If you want to comment, have suggestions, feedback, go to whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can ask us for stickers. We'll throw some in the mail for you. Once again, we hope the mail gets it to you. If it doesn't, it's not our fault. We didn't vote for that asshole.
No, we did not.
I want to say there's a new bonus episode, that's going to happen this Saturday. A new newsletter is going to happen sometime this week. Yep. And Sonia, did I go through everything?
I think that's everything. That's plenty.
I think so too. And if this is your first time you're listening to us, what we do is we talk about a creep, and then the other person is challenged to find a non-creep to talk about. So you leave the world feeling good and not like everything's a big old dumpster fire.
You know what?
What?
I just remembered one more thing. We have a website now.
Sonia, tell them about it.
whatacreeppodcast.com is our new website, and you can find all of our episodes there. There's a link to the merch store, link to our Patreon page. There's like a keep in touch section where you can learn where to follow us, how to email, what our email is, a little about Margot and myself, and with pictures in case you're wondering what we look like in the real world. And I'm not a web designer, but I think it looks pretty good.
You are a rad web designer. You did a great job, and I'm sorry I forgot that. Yes, so guys, please check it out.
Too. So all the seasons are there, and the logo is front and center. It's great.
Awesome.
So please check it out, and that's where you'll be able to find everything you needed to know about What a Creep.
And especially because each episode, one of the things that got under my saddle was when somebody's like, they don't even do research. I'm like, bitch, please. This is...
That's right, bitch, please. We do so much research.
So, yes, we do research. And so, Sonia, I'm going to verbally just the places, the sources where I got my information, but all the links are included in the show notes, which you can get on your phone or go to whatacreeppodcast.com. And every episode, we include the link so you can check that out for yourself. And this is about Joss Whedon. I used, of course, his Wikipedia, Variety, The Cut, The Guardian, The Wrap, Vice, IndieWire, The Mary Sue, Screen Rant, Hindu Times Hollywood News Service, and Film Daily. And Joss Whedon is one of the most prolific writers, directors, and producers in the entertainment world. He is the brains behind Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly, Angel, The Cabin in the Woods, I really like that one, and Justice League. He is famous for his strong female characters, witty dialogue, and love of the supernatural and geeky things. He made labeling yourself as a feminist for a cool thing for men to do. But he's also a bit of a creep, as his wife of 15 years can attest. She accused him of using his feminism as a shield to have affairs with other women for years. Also, recently, he was accused by actor Ray Fisher from Justice League of abusive, unprofessional behavior on the set, and other actors and crew members have since come forward and talked about his behavior being less than feminist in writing and also just being an abusive creep. He's an egomaniac, and he tries to control the lives of people on his sets, or he did. Maybe he's getting better. Who knows? But let's get started. And the trigger warning, it's going to be basically cheating spouses. And for me, it's needless sexual assault scenes in entertainment. That for me, I just find that really, ugh.
Yeah.
Especially we'll talk about it. Joseph Hill Whedon comes from a show business family. His father, Tom Whedon, was a writer for the 70s sitcom Alice. Remember Kiss My Grits?
Oh, yes. I was a big fan of Alice back in the day.
I loved Alice. Okay. And also his father wrote for the 80s hit The Golden Girls. His grandfather, John Whedon, wrote for the Dick Van Dyke Show and the Donna Reed Show. So he comes from a pretty good Hollywood family. He was born 1964 and raised in the New York City area. And when he graduated from Wesleyan College in 87, he moved to the West Coast to work on sitcoms. The first ones were Roseanne and the first shot at Parenthood. There was a sitcom and then it became something else.
Oh, right.
He was also a script doctor in several films, including in the 90s, Speed, Waterworld, and Twister. So,
well, one of those is good.
Yes. Twister's fun. It's just stupid. He's also the screenwriter for the original movie version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which starred Christy Swanson and Luke Perry, R.I.P. This came out in 1992 and was basically ruined by the movie studio. And we talked about that on our other podcast, forgot to mention, Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies.
I do love the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, but I realize it's not for everyone.
It's pretty great, though.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. In the mid-90s, he had a big success as a writer for, I didn't know he wrote for this, the movie Toy Story. This is where he earned an Oscar nomination for Best Screenplay. But he was really interested in producing his own shows and having creative control. And he wanted to be like a big film director and have his own franchises and things like that. He had delusions of grandeur, which weren't delusions, apparently. I mean, he succeeded. In 1991, he met actress and producer Kai Cole, and she encouraged him to keep working in television to gain the experience to become a film director, which was his biggest goal. So when the Buffy the Vampire movie came out, he was really unhappy with how it turned out. She was the one that told him, just keep at it. Maybe turn it into a TV series, and this will help you. It'll help you grow. They were married officially in 95, and they would go on to have 2 kids together. In 97, he gained fame with the launch of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which starred Sarah Michelle Gellar. And you are a Buffy fan, right?
I am. I super love this show. I think it is really, really groundbreaking television, actually. And he was doing a few things on that show that are much more commonplace now. One is kind of the kick-ass female character. That was not a thing when Buffy started. She's physically strong, like mentally strong, but also the idea of using an entire season to tell like one overarching story, was something that a lot of shows do now, but was not really a thing at the time. So they would kind of introduce like a new villain at the beginning of every season and tell like a really big story throughout 22 episodes. I mean, most of these seasons, now seasons are like 12 episodes or something, but they were like 22, 24 episodes. It's very good TV.
Well, it became a huge hit, and eventually he became just as famous as anybody that was on his shows. I mean, you don't know a lot of showrunners out there. He was smart. He got a lot of publicity for it. He earned multiple award nominations for his writing. He said he loved his fans, and they love him back. And Joss was sort of like this nerd king, this geeky king. So in 99, he launched Angel, starring David Boreanaz and Charisma Carpenter. Did you watch that?
I watched almost all of it, and then they introduced a kid, and I was like, I'm less interested, and then I came back at the end.
Okay.
But I did like it a lot.
Okay. And then he also created Firefly, which did not do well in the ratings, but he eventually created a movie that took the plot after its last episode, entitled Serenity. And it's considered a cult classic.
It's got a hardcore fan base. Yeah. Firefly.
In 2009, he created the show Dollhouse for Fox. It starred Eliza Dushku as one of a group of people. Did you watch this?
Yeah. I watched a few episodes and I did not like it.
It stars a group of people who are captured and have their memories wiped and replaced with new memories and a new personality. And basically, it's the whim of people who basically rent you for a certain amount of time. There's a lot of sex stuff going on.
Yeah.
And people being trafficked to gratify other people's fantasies. And Whedon says he wanted to celebrate perversion with it and was deeply disappointed. I know. After this,
I found the show to be really, really gross. Like, I found it to be kind of gross. It made me feel icky when I watched it. And so I stopped watching.
Oh, well, that's a good reason to stop.
Yeah.
After this, he co-wrote the movie The Cabin in the Woods, which I remember really enjoying. The show Dollhouse lasts a couple of seasons, and then he starts working for Marvel Studios. He signed on to write and direct, The Avengers, and this happened in 2010. In 2012, the film comes out, and then in 2015, he writes and directs Avengers: Age of Ultron, and both of them were huge, huge hits. He's also been a part of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. since 2013. In 2017, he took over post-production for Justice League from writer-director Zack Snyder, who needed to leave after a family tragedy. Joss decided to write new scenes and film them, but he did not get credit as a director. He got some credit as a screenwriter. The film this summer has been in the news quite a bit lately because there's something called the Snyder Edit of Justice League. And Snyder is basically putting the film back together with his own cuts with absolutely nothing from Joss Whedon. There's fans out there that are dying to see this. It's going to be available on HBO Max next year.
Yes.
I like most of Snyder's films for the most part. They're 300. They're big. They're over the top. I'm curious because my problem is I thought Justice League was just a big waste of talent and it was a mess. And I like those characters. I was really excited to see Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. That was our first time to first see her as Wonder Woman. But anyway, that's set release next year on HBO Max. Now we're going into, well, why is he a creep? Well, going back to November of 2017, his now ex-wife wrote a blog post saying, Joss Whedon is a hypocrite preaching feminist ideals while basically cheating on her for almost their entire marriage. She was always a little nervous about how often he surrounded himself with women, but he claimed he was with women all the time because he was a feminist. He just preferred the company of women. It began on the set of the Buffy TV series, and he started an affair with someone. I have no idea who it is. He admitted to it, though. He later told his wife in a letter, I was surrounded by beautiful, needy, aggressive young women. It felt like I had a disease, like something from a Greek myth. Suddenly, I am a powerful producer, and the world is laid at my feet, but I can't touch it. He was hoping that what he would do is just kind of have this one fling, and that the feelings would go away. One of those things like you get it out of your system and you never talk about it again kind of thing. But that did not happen. He had multiple affairs, both physical and emotional, for the 15 years of their marriage. And she writes, I now see how he used his relationship with me as a shield, both during and after our marriage, so no one would question his relationships with other women or scrutinize his writing as anything other than feminist. And he was, I should say, I got to say this again, like he was considered a feminist. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that was considered a feminist show. He would speak about feminist issues, about equality, how women need to be respected. He said this all the time. And he always used his wife as an example because she's this very beautiful, smart lady that he's, married to. And isn't she awesome? I'm awesome too, right? Well, finding out that her husband was a lying asshole really hurt her confidence. She basically had like a form of PTSD from it. It's like when somebody's gaslighting you, lying, it's upsetting. And,
Yeah. When you're in a shitty relationship, like you carry that shit around with you, and it is like PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD.
Yes.
So she's back to being an architect, and she's doing much better.
Good.
What Joss said about her essay through his publicist, while this account has inaccuracies and misrepresentations, which can be harmful to their family, Joss is not commenting out of concern for his children and out of respect for his ex-wife. Which I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. In other words, it's all true.
But I don't want to admit to being horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this past summer, July 1st exactly, actor Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg in Justice League, said over Twitter that Joss Whedon was abusive and unprofessional on the set of Justice League. This is the tweet. Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He was enabled in many ways by producers Jeff Johns and John Burke. He never has gone into the specific details. I'm sure he will. At some point, he's going to have to. Someone's going to ask him about it. Then his next tweet was him in 2017 talking about Justice League at one of those Comic-Con places, next to Aquaman, Jason Momoa, and just basically saying like, oh, Joss is a great guy. It was great working with him. He's like, I completely take all of this back. I don't know what why he did it at that point, but all of a sudden, all of these people started coming forward with allegations of his creepiness for the last 25 years. And this summer, Joss Whedon was supposed to be at Comic-Con and had a panel just for him, and it got canceled at the last minute. And it was just after all these allegations. So there, like I said, these are just creepy things about him for the last 25 years. We'll start with Charisma Carpenter, who played Cordelia in Buffy and then on Angel. Were you a fan of her?
Yes. Yeah, I liked her a lot.
She was a fan favorite. She kind of went from being an airhead to like a really badass fighter.
Yes.
And a lot of people really loved her. My friend Deborah was like a huge fan. Right before season 4, Charisma found out she was pregnant. And she told the production about it, because you have to do that. Joss Whedon, she said later, was really mad at her for getting pregnant. And he didn't know what to do, so her character arc went to a really weird direction, where her character was possessed and then was carrying an evil baby or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And
this is when I started to bail.
Yeah.
Came back later. Yes.
Fans were furious, and she was written out of the show. She was fired, basically, for being pregnant. In 2009, she was invited to Dragon Con, and she told the audience that she felt he was mad at her for getting pregnant and punished her by reducing her character's feisty nature. Later, she was asked to film an episode for their 100th episode, and she said, "I'll only do it if you don't kill my character off." And they assured her that would not happen. And then she goes on set, and that's exactly what happened. Spoiler for the 100th episode.
Yeah, it's a huge bummer. You really care about these characters. He is a very talented writer.
He is.
And because he's such a talented writer, he creates these really wonderful characters that you super care about. You really like her character. She is someone who was like a precursor to like the Mean Girls kind of thing, like popular mean girl. And they turned her into somebody who was actually really sweet and smart about different things and a really strong person. And then to just kill her off was disappointing.
Well, also just making her possessed and carrying an evil baby. Like, what was that all about? Like,
it's stupid is what it is.
It's really stupid because, you know, he's smart. He could write his way around that, but he didn't want to do it because he was just,
right.
He really was mad that she got pregnant. Like, that interfered with his plans. What an asshole.
I know.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to 2017's Wonder Woman, which was a huge hit for director Patty Jenkins and starring Gal Gadot. Joss wrote his own Wonder Woman script in 2006. And it turns out his ideas were a stinking pile of sexism and dumb. He could not get it past. This is Joss Whedon, guys. Like, he could get shit done. And even the movie studio's like, this is just too sexist and dumb. It has all kinds of descriptions with a male gaze. And here's an example about Wonder Woman. She is elemental, as natural and wild as luminous flora surrounding. Her dark hair waterfalls to her shoulders in soft arcs and curls. Her body is curvaceous but taut as a drawn bow. She is barefoot.
Do you know how sexist it has to be for a movie studio to say, that's pretty sexist?
Like, it's like a dumb sexist haiku too. Just she is barefoot. I just that made me laugh super hard.
It makes me want to snap at the end, like yes, snap, 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 snap.
There's also a scene in Wonder Woman where she gets out of a jam by doing a sexy dance. Like, that's what we want. Like, yes,
that's what we want.
That's what we wanted. This guy never saw Wonder Woman. There's a scene where a man shows up at Paradise Island. This is where Wonder Woman's from. And the women there are total ditzes, and he has to keep them in line to keep them focused.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, it's just all. So he goes to the Justice League reshoots, and he wanted Gal Gadot to shoot a scene where the Flash crashes into a scene and lands on her body. And he's, like, planted on her body. This is a trope that's been done so many times in TV and movies. Mm-hmm. And she said, no, I'm not doing that, because she thought it was sexualizing Wonder Woman, which she didn't want. And she just thought it was a hack idea and it had been done to death. It wasn't in the script originally, and she wouldn't do it. So he took her into an office, locked the door, and threatened to ruin her career if she didn't film it. She refused, but he used a stunt double.
Such a prick.
He's a prick. I mean, he filmed a similar scene in The Avengers, the second one that I was mentioning, where Bruce Banner lands on top of the Black Widow. And it's the same thing. And she knew that. And she's like, no, I'm not doing that. Kevin Smith said on his podcast that he heard that Whedon was constantly putting down the Zack Snyder version of Justice League, and he did it in front of people who worked on it, which did not exactly help with morale. Another thing from Age of Ultron, The Avengers, Age of Ultron. This was in 2015. There are people who are upset about the backstory he wrote for Black Widow. He promised to bring her an interesting one. To that, he meant she was sterilized as a child and then referred to herself as a monster because she couldn't have kids.
Right.
This is from Sarah Stewart in IndieWire. Haven't we gotten to the point where the one female superhero in our current landscape, this is before Wonder Woman, can pursue the business of avenging without having to bemoan the fact that she's not a mother? For a while, Joss left Twitter because people were going after him on there. And unfortunately, Patton Oswalt was one of the ones like, Joss Whedon left Twitter because of people. And,
It's a good impression.
Thank you. But, successful man, a successful man who calls himself a feminist can never learn from women. That's basically his point. So back to Buffy. There was an episode, I remember this. This was really upsetting. But the character of Spike has a relationship with Buffy. Mm-hmm. And then they break up. All of a sudden, he decides to show up at her house and attempts to rape her.
Yeah.
James Marsters played the character. He's like, where did this idea come from? And one of the writers, who's a woman on the writing staff, said offhandedly that one time she had seduced a boyfriend because she thought that would help him forget that they broke up the day before. It was a joke. And it's just like, that's how she said it. And he goes, yeah, so he's mad because they broke up, so he's going to have sex with her. And he's like, no, this is rape. This is not sex. It's an assault. And he tried to explain to him, even just switching the genders is weird to people. You're switching the power. He was furious. He filmed it, but he was in tears most of the time. He was sick for a few days after that. He was furious that he had to do it. He never felt good about it. And he now has it written in his contracts, all of his contracts, that he can never be asked to participate in a rape scene.
That scene was upsetting.
It was upsetting. And it's, one of the links I put in there, the writer really made a good point. Like, it's one of those cases where sometimes people use a sexual assault to teach a man a lesson about women. Mm-hmm. And that's fucked up.
Yeah.
That's super fucked up.
Yeah. It also, I have to clarify that I hope I'm remembering this correctly. It's also because he loves her so much.
Well, come on.
And it's like, that's not really what's happening here.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not cool. They did a lot of work to take that character who was very evil and turn him into someone that you could kind of root for, and then I could see why he was really upset.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
Yeah. He said that also, Marster said that Joss Whedon was super upset at how popular he became. And one day he was mad at him and he just threw him up against a wall and said, I don't care how popular you are, kid. You're dead. You hear me? And Marsters tried to laugh it off, but he said, no, he did it because he was jealous of me. So it's fucked up. Also from those days, former employees Jeff Pruitt and Sophia Crawford. Sophia was the stunt double for the first few seasons of Sarah Michelle Gellar. Jeff Pruitt was the guy that ran these. He was a stunt coordinator. He coordinated all those stunts. And they met on the set and they started dating. And then for some reason, it really pissed off Joss Whedon that they were dating. And he told both of them, they would have to break up if they wanted to continue working on the show. And they've been doing it for years. They were like, fuck you, we're leaving. And he told them both, no one will ever hire you again after this. So he was such a prick. He went from being this humble writer, and then he turned into this real egomaniac. Like, it all just went to his head. There's also, and this is another thing, he for the show Firefly, did you watch Firefly? I forget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
So he had a scene, they never filmed it. The show was, I think it was canceled in the first year, right? Or it was...
it was.
Yeah. Okay.
There's like 10 episodes or something.
Well, for the 11th or 12th episode, the character of Inara, was she a sex worker or a former sex worker?
Yes.
They were going to have her be gang raped in an episode. Yeah. So Nathan Fillion, who's really gorgeous, who played Mal, he would slut shame Inara. He would say nasty things about her. Mm-hmm. And they were going to film a scene where basically a man tried to rape her, and then all of a sudden she could kill men who were trying to hurt her. And what was going to happen was like he was going to walk into a room and there's going to be all these dead bodies of men and her. So the idea was like all these men attacked her. Mm-hmm. They were like, that's fucked up and terrible, and they never filmed it.
It's that's a weird thing because that's like not the tone of the show.
Right.
At all. The show was not, I mean, it had dark stuff, but come on.
Well, the whole point was the character was going to learn that he shouldn't slut shame a woman. So they were going to let a woman be raped by a bunch of guys. Yeah. I mean, not really. It's just a plot twist.
Yeah.
But it's messed up. Like, that has to happen to her for him to be a better person.
Yeah.
I think that's fucked up. Yeah. Now, to be totally fair to him, in 2017, he admitted to the Hollywood Reporter that he could have done much better at hiring women as directors for his projects and also including more people of color. He calls himself a selfish prick who could care about the thoughts and feelings of others more. But then he also calls himself a woke bae, which I'm not sure if it's a joke or not. I can't tell. He has... That's one case I can't tell if he's kidding or not. He has many projects in the works for 2021, including something called The Nevers, which is about a gang of Victorian women who find themselves with special abilities. And I actually think that sounds cool.
Yeah.
But that's our creep this week, Joss Whedon.
Good job, Margot.
No children were mentioned or hurt in this episode.
What a treat. It's this one is such a bummer, and I know that you previewed that this was coming in our Facebook group, and people were like, that's a bummer, like I super love Buffy or Angel, Firefly. You can still love those things. Mm-hmm. And we try to remind people of this all the time in these episodes. Like, we know it's hard to separate the art from the artist, and if Buffy means something to you, that's okay. It can still mean something to you, but it's also good to know, who's behind the things that you love. That's all. That's all we're doing here.
And, it was 25 years ago. Things happen and things change and society changes. And it's a good thing that society changes and society grows. And there's going to be things right now that we think are really woke or whatever. And then we'll find out 10 or 15 years ago, oh, wait, actually, no, that really wasn't, and that's good. It just means we're learning.
That's a really good way of saying that. 25 years ago, when Buffy was first on, that show was really progressive. Mm-hmm. That's why we were like, we love him. He's super progressive. He's super feminist. And but he hasn't gotten progressively more progressive as the time has gone on. He's still stuck in this older mentality that he needs to move along and get where we are now. Yeah. And that's what he needs to do. I mean, I'll probably still see that movie, The Nevers. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a TV series. I'm trying to figure out where it's going to be because I was like, I like all that shit, Victorian and supernatural, and it's mostly women. I'm like, and it's a good cast. I was looking through the cast. It's very multiracial and diverse. Yes. So,
and maybe he'll learn something. Maybe this is. We talked a little bit about this when we did our Louis C.K. episode, the idea that we want to give people a road to redemption. Mm-hmm. Like, can Joss Whedon redeem himself? Maybe he can. I hope so.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear about someone who's not a creep?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I want to talk about Taika Waititi, who directed, I'm going to run down the list. Hunt for the Wilder People. He did What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, and which was later turned into a TV series of the same name. And it is my favorite show on TV right now.
It's the best. It's the best.
It makes me laugh stupid hard every time I watch it. If you're not watching it, you should watch it. It's on Hulu and stuff. It's on FX, but I watch it on Hulu. It's amazing. He also directed Thor Ragnarok, which is...
I love that movie.
So good. So entertaining. And he also did Jojo Rabbit, which actually I haven't seen yet.
Nor have I, but I plan to.
Yeah, me too. It's on my list. He was born Taika David Cohen. Sorry, August 16th, 1975, but he goes by Taika Waititi. He is from New Zealand, and he's a director, producer, screenwriter, actor, and comedian. He is the son of a Jewish mom and a dad who is, I'm going to make sure I'm pronouncing this right, Maori.
Uh-huh.
And that's the indigenous people of New Zealand. So he's a Maori, trying to get it right, Maori. He is a Maori Jew from New Zealand.
You know those people.
That's why in Jojo Rabbit, he actually plays Hitler. And he said, what better way to insult Hitler than to have him portrayed by a Polynesian Jew? His father was a founding member of a notorious biker gang called Satan's Slaves.
What?
I thought that was, I know. I'm like, what? Satan's Slaves? Apparently New Zealand has a biker gang. Who knew? He went to Victoria University of Wellington College, and that's where he met Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. I love Jermaine.
Oh, Jermaine is my favorite.
Yes. And I love Flight of the Conchords, which also includes Britt McKenzie. Britt. You have to say it like that. Britt. Jermaine and Taika actually performed in a comedy duo for a while called the Humor Beasts, and they won New Zealand's biggest comedy award in 1999, the Billy T Award. He has been nominated for an Academy Award twice for directing and writing Jojo Rabbit, and he actually won for his writing for Jojo Rabbit. And he is nominated for an Emmy this year because What We Do in the Shadows is nominated for comedy series, and it's nominated for writing as well. He's just, his stuff is really great. And if you haven't seen Hunt for the Wilder People, it's really, really wonderful. I highly recommend that one. He also does some voiceover for The Mandalorian. He directed an episode of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus.
I love The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and he does the voice of the robot IG-11, and he's nominated for an Emmy for his voiceover performance work as well. Up next for him is he is writing a sequel to What We Do in the Shadows called We're Wolves. Yeah, which I will totally see.
I'm in.
And he's also writing and directing a sequel to Thor called Thor Love and Thunder. And I'm really looking forward to that because it's got, I think Chris Hemsworth is in it, but I think it's mainly focusing on Natalie Portman and Tessa Thompson.
Oh, cool.
Which I love both of those people. So the reason I picked him, though, these are the reasons I picked him. He's actually doing right now, he's organized a charity reading of James and the Giant Peach. And he's got all these stars to join in. So it's like Meryl Streep, Benedict Cumberbatch, Chris and Liam Hemsworth, Ryan Reynolds. And they're all doing this charity reading of James and the Giant Peach. And all the money is being donated to a global health nonprofit called Partners in Health, which is helping vulnerable areas fight COVID-19. He is also starring in an anti-racism campaign in New Zealand. What's it called? A Give Nothing to Racism campaign, part of the Human Rights Commission. Oh, and he has invented these funny little things. And one of the things I love is it's a guitar. And on the bridge of the guitar, the neck of the guitar is an emery board. So while you're playing, it files your nails.
That's so cool.
And the other one is a necktie that has buttons so that your tie doesn't blow away in the wind.
That's so smart.
I think he's just people love him. They love him. He's so nice to everyone on the set. People love working with him. He also brought a whole bunch of indigenous people onto the set when he was directing Jojo Rabbit to shadow him so that they could learn from him.
Oh, that's great.
And he pays it forward.
Right.
I just thought he was a good anti-Joss Whedon. He's not a prick to people. He's still really nice to people. He keeps it really light on the set, even when they're filming things that are hard, or he plays music. Sometimes he directs in his pajamas. Like everyone loves him.
Aw.
And I love him. And I think he's a total fox.
He is. Is he married?
He is separated from his wife, and they have 2 kids, but it seems very amicable.
And he's based in New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he's a total fox. I know hone in on people's looks, but he is.
He's a big bucket of handsome.
Exactly. He is a big bucket of handsome. So that's our not a creep.
That's such a great choice. So thank you so much, Sonia. So we will be back next week with a new creep. If you guys have any suggestions, our favorite thing, either just go to the Facebook group, and that's where we do interact. Once again, it is a private group. If you have a picture of a juggalo on your feed, you just look creepy, you won't get in. But chances are you will get in. You'll be with friends. So you go right in there. What a Creep podcast group on Facebook, or we love it on Twitter when you use the Andy Potts GIF. We got one, and it's from the Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. So on Twitter, once again, we're at CreepPod. You can send us an email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And we're on Instagram, What a Creep Podcast. And also, I'm sorry, I just slipped my memory. What was I going to say? Oh, right. Dorking Out. If you like the sound of our voices, Sonia and I co-host a show called Dorking Out. And this next episode, we're dorking out about the movie Pacific Heights. Mm-hmm. 1990.
It's going to be so. I love it when we revisit like 90s thrillers.
Yeah.
I think they are the most fun. And Adam Risky from F This Movie is going to join us. And we always have such a good time when Adam is on. But also these kinds of movies are so great. And you can find Dorking Out at dorkingoutshow.com and at Dorking Out Show on Twitter. Where can people find you, Margot?
You could find me on social media at Brooklyn Fit Chick. That's mostly for Twitter and Instagram. And my blog is brooklynfitchick.com. And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram, where I post photos of bread and Animal Crossing and beer. And you can also, like we said at the top of the show, find our new What a Creep website, whatacreeppodcast.com.
Yeah, check it out. Let us know what you think of it.
Feedback appreciated.
So, guys, that's it for this week. We'll be back next week with a whole new creep and a non-creep. In the meantime, wash your hands, practice social distancing, please wear a mask in public, and just don't be a creep.
Don't be a creep.
Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.